Sorry.
Well, just in
Okay.
this. Like.
Okay, let me know. Okay.
Oh, man. First, you use the temporary one for a year. And there's a lot of stuff. So that's a lot of stuff. It's actually different passwords.
Yeah.
So there's a possibility. Would do the same.
No, the third and fourth.
Oh, it's locked. though.
Second and third.
So that
No,
makes
it's
sense.
gonna be on Wednesday.
Second.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good.
Good.
Okay.
Now, with,
No, yeah.
let Danny try to figure out his issues. What? Hello.
You're fine.
How are you? Monday. Yes. All right.
Mr. Jolena might finally be ready. I don't
Yeah,
know.
I'm good.
Hard to say.
Very.
Hard to say.
Okay, let's, we're gonna call this meeting to order at 7:06. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. By the door, I pledge allegiance to the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice. That's two truths. Rotary.
Rotary, yeah.
Okay, good, yeah, I was gonna say, oh, it's gonna be difficult. Yeah, I like this one better, thank you.
This is a little bit better to follow.
Okay, roll call, please, Christie.
Mr. Dabrowski.
Here.
Mr. Smith.
Here.
Mrs. O'Grady. Here. Mr. Von Giovanni.
Here.
Mr. Bryant.
Here.
Mrs. Fryhouse. Here. Mr. Galena.
Here.
Look at that.
All right.
Full board. Happy
Full
August.
board. Now, they're showing up. They want good attendance for the school year.
That's right.
Whatever it takes.
Okay.
We did submit board recognition. So better bring it. The application is in.
Hear that, teammates?
Gotta get that
Bring
little,
it.
little badge,
No pressure.
little pen.
Missed a day and over a year.
Do you want a special shiny pen?
No, I'm
I mean, you
thinking-
can.
I'm thinking he's missed a couple.
Oh, snap. Okay, let's move on. Everybody be kind.
Okay, no changes to the agenda, so I'd be looking for the approval as submitted.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Motion by Dan, second by Jennifer. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. Motion carries. Next, I'd be looking for an approval of the minutes from the July 15th, 2025 Board of Education meeting.
I'll motion. I'll second.
We got a motion by Joe. Is it the end of the meeting? Motion by Joe, second by Ken. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. And I think we had the full board last meeting also, so no abstention.
All right, I'm bringing stickers next time. Let's go.
You want yard signs?
Yeah. Next correspondence.
We have one message. Dear D114 family, thank you for the beautiful plant you sent me. It warmed my heart and brought a smile to my face. I appreciate all the love, support, and prayers that are helping me through this difficult time. I'm so blessed to be part of this school district. With gratitude and love, Joe Catlin.
She's dealing with some medical stuff. Keep her in your thoughts and prayers.
Okay, we'll do. Audience comments.
Virgie, what you got? No?
It's a great day.
Nice. That's a great comment. All in favor of that? Yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
And, anybody,
Happy to be back. Happy to be back.
we only have one onliner?
Kim,
Kim?
yeah, Kim's online. Kim, you got anything to say, audience?
Nope, just happy first day of school.
All right, fantastic. Moving along. Consent agenda. We have, which consists of accounts payable and the treasurer's report for July. So we had a slight change to the accounts payable. So the amount, total payables is $694,566.40. It was just removal of a couple of duplicate printing, things like that printed twice accidentally in a couple spots, so. Other than that, I don't have any questions. Anybody else? Question on treasury report? No?
Nope.
No. If not, I'd be looking for an approval of the consent agenda as updated.
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Roger,
Second.
second by Sarah. Please poll the board.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mrs. Boyowski? Yes. Mr. Dabrowski?
Yes.
Mrs. O'Grady? Yes. Mr. Bonjamini?
Yes.
Mr. Bryan?
Yes.
Mr. Believe?
Yes.
Okay, motion passes.
Before we transition into the next topic, which is the tentative budget, I want to give public recognition to Natalie for coming in. And I think all of us would agree that we're not quite sure how she's doing everything she's doing as well as she's doing it. When you talk about learning to build a plane while you're flying it, we've had great systems in place, but to come in and know what she's had to know at the speed she's had to know it absolutely has been not surprising because you're you, but so sincerely appreciated. And everybody in this room has felt that. So with sincere gratitude, and please don't run away, I will say thank you for becoming our director of BS.
Thank you.
Ms. Services.
Exactly.
Yes.
Well, some days it's.
All right. I'll drive, Natalie, if you.
Yeah,
Just
sounds good.
All right, well, when I'm not submerged in transportation, accounts payable, food service, sometimes I get to develop a budget, so. And then just a reminder, this is our tentative budget. So we will do our public hearing and then our actual adoption in September.
And Natalie, the board had access to the slides in the packet, correct?
And they actually had something that, we didn't have access to here, which is that snapshot too. So if there's any questions, I can address those as well. All right, so we're gonna start with the economic forecasting. So originally, we're gonna put a funny slide on here for changes because this changed daily. So I started it in July and probably did 57 updates to this one slide, but all for the better, which is good. So in the beginning of July, everything just was taking a major downturn, and slowly but surely we're starting to come back up, which is good. So I'm going to start on the left-hand side with the state outlook. So there is a decrease in our regular transportation reimbursement from 79 to 73%. So what we did was we projected just 4% lower. Last year's projection was 155,000, so we just took that down a bit for this year. Same thing with special ed reimbursement for transportation. It went down from 69% to 61%. We knew there were going to be decreases and things like this, so took that down about 10% from our 570,000, and now we're at about 500. I do have good news at some point, but this is going to look bleak for a while. Private facilities took about a 25% dip. So our original projections were 450,000. And again, we had to take that down about 25%.
That would be just for the good of the board. That would be the reimbursement we get when we need to place kids in therapeutic settings. So then if you combine those two, the highest accounts that you've ever seen are accounts payable. are those tuition bills and then the transportation for students to get to and from those places. So these numbers matter a lot, particularly that tuition number and the tuition reimbursement. So being thoughtful about that certainly, as we always are, but I would hope that it would affirm this board's decisions over time to build as much internal programming as we can for our kids with the most complex needs. The more we can keep them with us, the less impact there is for reimbursement needs for specialized programming.
So our CPPRT, which is our corporate property replacement taxes, which that's taxes on businesses, for profits, or taxable income. So that's an interesting category because originally we were told by the state that that was going to be taken down by 34%. So that's what we did our original projections at. Well, when it came back, every school district got a 2% bump on it. However, the problem is our projections for last year were so low that we really only got we had a 32% decrease from our last year projection. So it went from 230,000 to about 149, which now we're up to 151,000. So our projections were just off last year. And I don't know if you remember 2 years ago, it was when they had accidentally miscalculated the formula at the state. So everybody went up by 100%. And that's why everything's going down right now. And that's why projections were off last year. So we were good though, because we projected from the beginning of the summer that it was going to be lower, and I'm glad we did. So EBF, so we got our increase of $611 from last year. And so that is that formula that the state takes, and it's 30 different calculations that go into it, including like per pupil, teacher-student ratio, our assets, our investments, and they calculate what we get. So we got $611. Heather says we're rich now, so that's great. But we stayed at the same amount, which is about 1.2 million. So we're still in tier 4, and we have a 109% adequacy rate. So our enrollment going down, that if our enrollment stayed the same, but our numbers were where they were, we would have been lower than 100%, which would have given us more funding. But because our enrollment's going down is why we're staying above that 100%. So I don't know where we're going to be next year, but we'll see. Good news, we get our maintenance grant for the next 2 years. So if you remember, that's about $50,000. That's a good thing. It hasn't come out yet. So hoping, we hear something soon. Now we're going to switch to the federal side. So all of these projections actually came from ISB and going to IASBO conferences. So kind of pooling resources together with other business managers. That's where we're getting all of these projections from. So Title I for IDEA and our PFA, which is our early childhood grant, those all took about a 10% dip. However, as things progress, we're slowly seeing funding coming back. We just haven't gotten it yet. So Heather and I said we need to stay at the projections we have now with the funding we have now, because we don't want to overfund accounts and then we don't end up getting something. And that's exactly what happened with that CPPRT the year before. So we had projected a certain amount, we didn't get it. And then we'll see later in our presentation how, that affected us a bit. Title II, we literally just received funding on Friday. We don't have the funds yet, but we're promised to get some funding. Really, it wasn't a big dip either. It went down from 25,000 to 24. Title III, same thing. We just received funding. So Title II is our professional development. Title III, bilingual funds. Medicaid, that's still unknown. I don't have any projections for that. Last year we projected about 205,000 and got that. So again, we're just waiting. Same with CEP, which is our free lunch program. Their qualifications for their threshold are going up, which we were at 61% and the threshold is 60%. So we're hoping we can stay on that. This year is fully funded, but we're just going to keep a really close eye on that. Any questions about state or federal outlooks? Again, this changed like a million times. And it still keeps changing. So
this would be a place where I would add in some props for Christy, digging into fee payment, fee waivers, making sure that we're capital. This doesn't sound right. but capitalizing and capturing any student who would be eligible for fee waiver direct certification, because that's, as long as we keep above that cut percent, we can continue to offer free lunch and free breakfast for all kids, which is a huge weight off of a lot of our families' shoulders. And some cleanup between Natalie and Christy and streamlining those processes, recaptured a couple, but more importantly, streamline the process, which that's something we really want to the very best of our control, make sure is something that our families can rely on. But as the cut gets higher in requirement, it will be something to see what happens.
What are we doing right now? I mean, if we don't know that we're getting that, or what are we doing today, tomorrow?
We do know we're getting it this year. It's
Okay.
fully
Yes,
funded for
this year is fully funded.
Okay.
We're gonna keep a really close eye on it, just like we are a lot of our projections. And like I said, Heather and I want to keep the lowest projection because we don't know. And you'll see later why we decided to do that, because we didn't get funded at what we thought we were gonna get funded at last year. And it ended up being really hard in May and June this year. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time on the next slide by any means. I just want to explain a little bit about our fund account. So I was given this farm analogy, which is great. So basically our entire, farm is like our bank account, but you can't really move things from silo to silo. So you have to keep corn in its own silo. So just a separate bucket for each fund of money, and they're all designed for a specific purpose. And then in each one of the silos, you have your revenues, expenditures, assets, and liability. And it's for us and the state to keep track of how much we're spending in each fund. All right, so budget by fund. So for FY26. So you'll see we have a description of fund, the revenue, followed by expenditures, and then in the green, which is good. So if you see green, it means we're balanced. However, if you're looking closely at those green numbers, it's the tightest budget we've ever had. So that's something that Mary and I had talked about a lot before I took over, is just it was going to be difficult to balance this year. Heather and I have spent a lot of time communicating about how closely we have to watch funding, just because of the fact that we don't have as many revenues coming in and things are going lower and our expenditures keep going up. So not added in is the 24,000 we'll get in the education fund, and that's for our Title II professional development, which is great. So that's something we're really looking forward to. Something I think even our principals were talking about and missing from the beginning of this year. So that's a great thing. And then the small amount of our Title III funds, which is that $6,000. But since those just came in on Friday, I didn't have those projections yet. But again, that doesn't change the numbers by a whole lot. So our total operating funds for revenues is 14,800,000 and change, and then our expenditures is 14,600,000 and change, which really allows us like a $200,000 variance in revenues to expenditures. So not a lot, but we want to make sure that we're projecting what we think we're going to spend. So. All right, we'll go to the next one. If there's any questions, feel free. All right, so on the revenue side, you'll see that last year I coded it light blue, and then this year is dark blue. So in our ed fund, that's typically going to be the largest fund. That's our salaries and our curriculum. Basically, any money that's spent on students is in the education fund, and that's a typical range of that 75 to 80%. Operations and maintenance fund, we spend about 7%. Debt service is less than 5%. Transportation is about 10%, and then IMRF, or Social Security, Medicaid, that's 2%. You'll see, though, we had a reduction in our ed fund from our revenues, and we kind of talked about that on the last slide with all of the projections going down. You'll see why we're getting less. In December, we do have to make our bond payment, so that's going to be over $500,000, which we've already budgeted for. So we know we're taking that from the ed fund and moving that over to debt service. And then this last note I just want to pay attention to is just in FY25, we had projected to receive $15,227, and our actual that we received was only $14,640. So that's really important to pay attention to. especially why we're watching those economic projections so closely, because we don't want to be in the situation we were in at the end of this year.
With that, not receiving everything we expected to, is that grant related?
It was both. So it was local funds and state funds. That CPPRT, that was a big one. So we had projected to receive a lot more than we did. And that was where that 34% deficit came in, now 32%. And then also some of our taxes. So we are getting a recapture though, which is good. So that'll come in this year, but it comes in slowly. So even today I got a recapture, but it was only $6,000. So we get it slowly throughout the year.
So one thing we tried to keep in mind historically was in the timing of grants. So last year, if we had budgeted to receive $600,000 of grants and we only got 500,000, our expenditures were in line with that 600,000. So we spent the money for the 600, but we only got 500.
Mhm.
Now that extra 100, we know we're going to capture this year. And if we're getting that, supposed to get that 600 again, we don't want to budget to spend 700, the
Right.
600 plus 100 carryover. We got to make sure we differentiate that and make sure we don't spend that 100 grand again in both
Right.
years.
Yeah, so you'll see in our expenditures, which if nobody has any questions, so we'll talk about this then a little bit. So these are expenditures, and you can see that our FY total is actually more than what our FY 26 total is for that exact reason. So we had projected that 15.7. Right now, we're only projecting 14.6. So the education fund is a little bit higher though, due to higher curriculum costs combined with some salary benefit increases. Last year as well, the reason that fund looks a little off balance towards the bottom, that's our capital projects, is because if you remember, we paid for the vestibules. So we had about 1.3 million and left over. We had 650,000 when I took over. We've already spent 80 of that. We've put in a new freezer. If you remember, our freezer went out, so we had to use capital project funds. We don't have a lot of extra money just laying around for things like that. So I'm glad we still have our capital project fund. And then also that's where we spent 65,000 to put in the smoke alarms over at Stanton so that we were in compliance. So luckily we do have some funds in maintenance, well, to do maintenance projects that are over a certain amount that we didn't budget for. So upcoming, we have our 10-year life and safety. Again, we're going to talk a lot more about what those life safety bonds look like too. So yesterday I submitted our annual state tentative budget, and 3 good things came out of it. We had no errors. We have a balanced budget, and so far we do not have any annual deficit reduction plan. So that was really good news. So it means we're doing the right things. We're making the right decisions. And we're just watching everything very, very closely. So just like you said, we don't want to over project. We'd rather stay under and then be surprised when things came in. So like a nice surprise, we had originally cut the professional development budget. Like we don't have anything. And then pleasant surprise, we just got on Friday notification of 24,000. Great. Now we can spend it, but we're not going to do it before we get the funds. So.
Just kind of big picture wise too, this last year, coming into May before our June real estate taxes came in, we were tentatively going to need tax anticipation warrants or a loan. Once you hit that, especially with the break-even budget, we're not getting anything. We're going to be in the same position a year from now, so we'll have to keep an eye on that. And
I told Heather it's my goal that we end this year without needing to even talk about TAWs or think about borrowing money from anybody.
That's our commitment.
so that's a tough one.
Yeah.
It is. but
Once
that's
you
what
hit
we're-
that, you can't. It's hard to get off that cycle.
Right.
Which we had to spend a lot of time on our expenditures. We went line, so we have 888 expenditure codes, and we sat and went line by line. Where can we
Yeah,
cut on the bottom line?
we do have a bare bones budget for a
We do.
long time. It's
Yeah.
just
And this is the worst
unexpected
one.
things come up.
Yeah.
And that you have to pay for, period.
So
Well, I
luckily
think
those,
it's a combination of unexpected things you have to pay for, and then funding levels, particularly in this fiscal, that are so incredibly unpredictable. Like not knowing what's gonna happen with Medicaid is a huge issue. Not knowing if or when the title grants, or to what extent they'll come in.
Right.
I mean, we're very reliant on those, and so I appreciate Natalie's perspective on it, because she called me, at one point coming back from a conference and said, basically have two choices to make. We can budget by aspiration, or we can budget by fact. And within 2 seconds, we both spoke. We budget in fact. We budget on the money that we have, and a lot of our colleagues did not do that.
And they're not doing it for this year.
Correct. And they're also, when you talk about the 3 things that just happened when you submitted, talking to colleagues all around Lake County, I can confidently tell you there are very few that are coming in this year with balanced budgets as we are. So you're doing an incredible job. We have set an intention to not have to have that same May conversation. Don't know what that will look like. I have talked openly with the staff about the fact that it's tight. Things we could have said yes to in the past, we can't right now. Don't not ask, but it's a season of it's no until it's yes, as opposed to yes until it's no, and we just have to live that way.
We're also very fortunate though to have our 10-year life safety come at the time it is, because some of these big projects we know we have to do can come through life safety bonds, which is a game changer for the future of our finance and not having to raise that debt service ceiling.
Right. The last thing you want to do is handcuff the district in long-term debt.
Yeah.
When there's so many things you just don't know.
Right, yeah. Does that get carved out of that calculation for the free lunch and breakfast? Is that included in
No,
that?
no, so that will be completely separate. Like, would that come into like our EBF funding and all that? No, it doesn't touch any of that. It doesn't even touch our debt service. It's completely separated. So districts are just, every business manager right now is just feeling like they won the lottery with these life safety bonds, because you can take them completely separate from any of, it doesn't count into your tax levies, anything,
Right.
EBF ratings, any of it. So
Okay.
it's not free money, but it feels like it. So
Any questions for Natalie? So what happens next?
all right, so
What happens next with the budget now that we've got it?
okay, so in September we'll do our public hearing, and it's already posted on our website. So if anybody from the public comes in, Christy knows where it is. They can see me and ask questions. We have it posted for 30 days. People are welcome to come in and ask questions at our public hearing, and then we'll adopt the budget.
That's that detailed one, right?
Yes, and it's done right now. We just have to wait to submit it for 30 days. So,
Right. That's due at the end, by the end of September.
yeah, and then right when it gets adopted, we have to send it over to a couple different places, but ROE, the state. Yeah. And we're still actually waiting for our formal audit results.
Right.
Obviously, everything went really well because they're not calling us anymore, so that's great. But we're still waiting for just our, formalized audit to come.
Jump online, look at that detailed budget.
Yeah, where did you
Call
put it,
Natalie with a
Christy?
lot of questions.
In, I can't remember.
That's all. You want to
Public info?
just send out a link
Yeah,
to the board.
and it's interesting to kind of look at line item by line item for that too. So, I mean, I like that, but maybe it's not.
Yeah.
Talking my language.
That's why I'm so glad you're in the job here. All right, let's talk facilities then.
Okay. So we put in our freezer, everything's good with that. Westside Mechanical finished that. Like I said, we used our capital projects fund. White completed their 10-year life safety survey. However, we're waiting to set a meeting with them. If you remember, that's where we're going through the A, B, C. So A is like top priority. You have to do that within 1 year. Then they talk about B and C projects, which we have a further timeline to do those. And then we'll talk about funding for that. We'll probably bring Tammy back to formalize the conversation for the life safety bonds through PMA. We do have to get an underwriter for that, but PMA contracts somebody out for that. And And it does take about 4 months to approve the process of having the line items approved by the state before we can even talk about funding. So when we talk about some of these projects, we're talking probably 6 months to a year out. But we have quite the list of projects to do. So, fire alarms were completed. They just did their final testing in the middle of August. We did a click survey for risk management, and we've sent things to staff members just to be in compliance with not only click, but ROE as well, knowing that we'll have that coming up as well. Seal coating at Stanton was done. I know we talked about Lotus, so I put that on the list. And then we're actually holding contracts right now for snow plowing, given that we do believe that Norm and Don, so maintenance and custodial at each building, can handle that. If not, Gene from ICE was awesome. He said, if you feel like you can't handle it, we'll just open up the contract at the bid that was given, and they can come and help us out like at their hourly rate. So it's nice to have our own internal systems doing that. But then at the same time, if somebody's out, we need help. So it's just nice to have a backup. So I'm very grateful for that. I just have 2 quick transportation updates, but Heather, you might want to say more about that.
What do you have left in the capital funds?
So we started with about 650,000. I just spent 80,000 of that. So, over 500,000 still. So, and we,
Health and safety bonds.
yeah,
Right.
Yep.
No, I just
Yes.
trying to keep in
Yep.
my head a little bit of a gauge of what's
Yeah.
there.
Mhm. And that, if you reference your tentative budget, Matt and I were talking about this earlier. I capitalized on just what we had started with the school year. So we said we were going to spend about 300,000 probably in capital projects this year, just because remember, we probably won't get those life and safety bonds to do projects 6 months to a year out. We're going to have things that happen.
Yeah.
The only revenue we take in on our capital projects fund is interest. So we took in a lot more interest last year when we had 1.3 million. We don't have as much. And so, we watch that fund very closely. And I always talk to Heather about what
It was
what
just
we're
nice to have
spending.
there for the 315 example.
It is really nice to have that. And if you remember, those are the funds left over from our referendum, because we did everything we promised to the community, and we have those left over to spend on, bigger projects that we don't have funds for. So it is nice to have a little bit of cushion.
So the treasurer's report, the first page, it's called the balance sheet, and the fund third from the end is capital projects. So monthly you can see the balance that's in there on this balance sheet. But again, like Natalie was saying, this is through July 31st, doesn't include anything that would have been spent in August here.
Right.
So thank you for referencing that, because that takes me like 8 hours to do. So I appreciate that. Thank you. Somebody looking
Well,
at
we're
it.
gonna streamline that task then.
Oh, well, when you're doing all the other tasks and you get pulled away constantly, it's taking a long time.
Yeah.
And then just transportation updates. merger
Hold on
with-
just a second. So one of the things, in terms of then the health, life, safety, our intent then is to bring the facilities committee together first to look at those recommendations, and then from that, bring forward to the full board thoughts, patterns that we see, the A-class findings and those kinds of things. So once we have a chance to circle back with White, then don't be surprised, Ken and Danny, when we start calling the facilities band back together to have those conversations and get some insight, so that then we can make decisions on how to bring that information forward to the board. Transportation.
Okay, transportation. Heather's done an awesome job with keeping you updated along the way. So all I'm gonna say right now, she is merger with Big Hollow is so far just, I would have ran if we didn't have those ladies. They're amazing. They know everything I don't know, and just vice versa. And it's been such a blessing in disguise. We did go van shopping. So we purchased one van. And as you know, if we purchase our own, we don't have to outsource, which saves us a lot of money. And then I have another purchase coming on Friday. We had 80,000 in line items to be able to buy vans this year. And so staying under budget, finding vans, and also, finding just great vehicles that we feel comfortable transporting our kids in. So anything else about transportation?
So as I shared with you, right now we're in a trial because the Big Hollow Board, while open to the idea of a partnership, has had a couple of experiences, not with us, but with other districts where such partnerships in other domains haven't gone as well. So they wanted to kind of date before we marry. We're set to then convene at the end of September to look at kind of how everything has gone, what the costs have been. As I've shared with you in the Friday updates, we are already saving money in where the vehicles are stored. Having them at the Big Hollow lot is saving us money on the monthly already. Getting some maintenance done in partnership with Big Hollow as opposed to having it paid for outside has already saved us some money. Our vehicles are very secure. They're under the lights, under the camera, under the fences at Big Hollow. They had room for us. The only glitch in all of it ended up being some issues with our van drivers' licenses, which got interesting this week. And simply something that they just need an additional endorsement for us to be in full state compliant. So we're working on that, but that led to, over the weekend, another kind of hiccup that we needed to work through. And fortunately, when we put up, I think literally every brain in this room together, we came up with a plan for that mostly impacted transportation for some of our outplaced students. I can tell you with a whole lot of pride that everybody got exactly where they needed to be, even with the complication of two people from Big Hollow having no idea what our routes or who our kids were, combined with us who know our kids, know the routes, but don't necessarily know the software inside and out, with amazing building teams of everyone just jumping in and doing whatever had to happen, from a superintendent, even from a principal's perspective, but certainly as a superintendent. The goal in the first day is get them in safely, get them where they're supposed to be, get them fed, and get them home safely. And if we do those things, it's a banner first day. We have a little fun too, all the better. And I think I can confidently say, I would look to my colleagues, it felt that way today, even with almost entirely new administrators, brand new transportation, and everybody kind of figuring it out as we went. Like I called Virgie on the way back from an appointment today, being like, okay, help me with this. So it's taken a village. With that said, I know that we are going to, if it doesn't feel like it already, we are certainly going to be in a more stable, better place in the long run for the kids and the families that we serve. And for me, that's always a goal. So while as it was all happening, it was kind of, oh my God, what could possibly come next?
Don't say that.
No, I'm not inviting it. I'm saying that's what we did say.
Yes, we did.
I couldn't be more proud of how everybody has navigated what had the potential to be an absolute disaster and really made the best of it. So chaotic, yes. But I don't know when a first day of school isn't chaotic, even with the best of intentions. And I couldn't have done it without this team, without question. So thanks to everybody for that.
Buses over at Big Hollow,
Mhm.
what do they provide us any services other than they have mechanics over there or something like that where they can service the buses? We just park them there. Do they help us with other things, or what's
We park, they help with anything that we need. They have once things get cold, they have already a plan in place, assuming that the pilot goes well, to exchange the vehicles to make sure they're parked and ready for the cold. They're checking our levels. In fact, their mechanic told our drivers not to touch the levels anymore because he is a little micromanagerial in the best possible way about what goes in the buses and to what extent.
Their DOTs are gonna be done by Big Hollow as well, so overseeing all that.
That's true as well.
Our,
Thanks.
our transportation claim, which is all of our mileage, so I'm doing it, but they're overseeing it, so there's two sets of eyes on it. And then another huge factor of this is our new fueling station in
Yeah.
Township is right across from,
yeah.
it just is working out perfectly.
At a
right
very,
now.
very reasonable per gallon cost.
Yes.
And scheduling the pickup routes and that, I know that used to be a big ordeal.
So that's a combination right now. So we're intaking a lot of the phone calls to do that. So a combination was that we were talking about this earlier. There's just one big transportation change doc. We're mainly intaking the phone calls because we know our families and we know our kids. And then what we do is we look to see what changes need to be made. And that is where the expertise in the transfer system comes in from Jackie and Jessica. So they spent a lot of time here, a lot of times on our routes. Even as early as this morning, I had a bus driver call and say, hey, it makes a little more sense to have these 3 kids on my route instead of this other bus. The change was made within 5 minutes, emailed the principals. They were on a new bus already on the way home because it made way more sense. So
Nice.
they're just very efficient, smart ladies. I'm
Yeah.
so happy to have them.
Yeah.
They work like at our speed, which is
Yeah, they do.
Given the situation, does it make sense at all for more long-term planning to start thinking about their whole parking lot?
I don't know.
How long, right, yeah.
I don't, honestly, I don't know that it does.
Yeah.
Yeah, the
It's
hard
hard
part-
if this works out because
They have the
it's,
mechanic.
Well,
And
no,
all the
I
other
don't
services.
disagree with you
Yeah.
there at all, and the costs and
Yeah.
all of that, but if we get kicked out of there, where do we go? Because,
right,
You
yeah.
know, that's more my concern than anything else is, okay, 2 years from now, what happens? Is it something we should be thinking about forward? I don't know. I'll figure it out.
Let's hope this is a permanent solution.
And I'm hoping we can just make this partnership like as manageable and easy as possible. And so we're not trying to overwhelm Big Hollow at all. We're really just trying to stay in very close communication because this is honestly like the best deal we can find anywhere.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's better than what we had. And so,
By a long shot.
and we were panicking,
Right?
thinking that we were going to spend over. We're spending under and getting way more.
Yeah.
What's the benefit for Big Hollow for us being there?
We're-
Do they get scale with us?
They
or-
do. So there are 2 transportation supervisors. We're kind of, if this is okay saying, thinking of maybe leaving to go somewhere else. Well, now being able to clock their hours for us, they can stay at Big Hollow. And then we're also compensating, as well as now we're paying them a rate to use their lot, which they
Right.
weren't getting anything for. So that's an extra. So we'll save about $5,000 a year using their lot, and they'll gain that amount. They'll gain an amount by us paying them. So
And then factor in that Big Hollow got hit hard with these budget cuts. And so any intake dollar for them is a win in any of their funds right now. So that's a great partnership. The other piece to that is Big Hollow had extra humans with CDLs and extra vehicles because we scaled skinny on the bus lease. They had extras of that, and we have the vans and the capacity. We had the potential in the budget to buy 2 that they didn't. So they've been running for some of their routes, big, expensive buses for routes that would be easily vannable. And as we build the van fleet, then they benefit from us sharing those resources. It just makes everybody better able to do their jobs when you're working with the combination of the districts rather than everybody trying to do the same thing in isolation.
and one of the ladies, Jackie, she is actually a trainer for the ROB. So she's able to come in and look at our compliance documents for transportation. We didn't have that. So it's just nice all around to have other eyes on our systems and vice versa. So they've already recognized, they're like, "Ooh, can you bring this up to our superintendent about what you guys do?" So it's just a nice back and forth to see how each system is running and to what capacity makes the most sense.
Because
So there's enough in it for them that they want.
Oh,
us
yes,
Yeah.
definitely.
That's probably more of the situation
it's
is
yeah,
the number of buses
We're
we
getting
have
way more out of
compared to
it.
them.
there.
Yeah,
Right, That's why I was wondering, like,
Yeah.
what's in it for them? I mean,
Yeah.
obviously there's money, but
there's money in it. I do believe, we've always been partners. Bob and I have been colleagues since the day I walked in. We've helped each other on a number of fronts. So I think there's also good spirit behind it. If it didn't come with a financial gain, Bob is also smart enough to say, yeah, that's funny, but no. So, and I think that's why conservatively his perspective was, we're going to try it. We'll at least guarantee we get you off the ground because we can't not do that. And then we'll see if we want to formalize, which is why we've been trying to be very careful to not like bleed them dry on people and really jump in. Like was it yesterday? It was yesterday at my table. We had like dry erase everywhere with kids' names and routes, just so that they knew we were in it with them.
Yeah.
But I've been endlessly impressed with them. They have the space. For me, the only way that could potentially become an issue is if they have such an increase in enrollment that they would need so many more vehicles to route more kids. And that's not in their projection right now either. So I think it's a fair question. I don't know that, I am believing more and more every day that we will get a long-term commitment, like an IGA out of them for this because it's working. The terms of that, I don't know. If he's smart, he'll do it for the duration of the year and revisit annually. If I'm smart, I'm going to ask for a multi-year and see what happens. But I think there's enough in it for them, particularly given the financial landscape right now, that every dollar matters. And to have money just coming in for stuff they already have, just in the payment to have the buses there is already a win.
They haven't set up our routes and stuff too.
Well, the routes were set. So they edited the routes up until like living and breathing today. So that wasn't really needed because Andrea had that was one of her commitments to get done before she left. So, and we're small enough that typically the routes don't change that much. What gets tailored is the individual routes, therapeutic placements, and who's going where and what time they have to get there.
Oddball question, do they use our vans, or do one of our drivers in vans take one of their students to where they need to be? If so, do we charge them for that, or is it somehow calculated in whatever you've got going on there?
I'd say
Currently,
it's a shared.
It's a shared, yeah. Right now, it's just a handshake. It's even. We're just
Yeah.
getting all the kids where they need to be.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Good with that.
It seems to shake out where it's like, if we put one of our kids on their van, they put one of their kids on our van.
Right.
So it seems
Yeah.
like it's just working out very evenly.
I would say in the long term, as Natalie talked about maintenance grants and safety grants, for example, if this were to become a long-term commitment, then one thing we would certainly want to explore would be a radio system that bridges all of us. Because right now we have ours, they have theirs, and we're operating basically by cell, which isn't best practice, but in the short game, it's fine. You don't want to invest in something if it's not going to be a long-term. If it were to become something that both districts commit to, both boards commit to, then that would be a recommendation to just streamline communication, but we're not there yet. All right.
That's it.
Yeah, nothing else to say? All right. Then let's walk through the personnel report. When you see any of the principals, like right now, it would be great to thank them for their time, dedication, and creativity in hiring. Because if you remember this, about 6 weeks ago, there were a whole lot of holes. And now we are fully staffed with the exception of a long-term, permanent sub, it's pending,
Yes.
and a paraprofessional, and that's it.
Wow.
Good job. So, and I also thought it was great that on our opening day, both Matt and Tom, in front of the full faculty, thanked the staff who had participated in interviews, because it wasn't just admin at the table. People are going to collaborate, then they have to have voice and choice in who they're going to be working with, which meant people like Karen Burnett. Was she your winner of how many times somebody interviewed?
Yeah.
So lots and lots of science interviews. But the number of people, in addition to our administrators, who made that happen just by giving their time over the summer, that's not time sheeted time. That's time where they care enough about who they're going to be working with and the kids they serve to come in and make sure we had a great combination of humans. And then I warned you in May that Maddie would be sleeping in her office during the summer to make sure everybody got onboarded. And I'm pretty sure that's the case. So if and when you see Maddie, please know she did that in the middle of selling her house. They're building a house and she's enrolling her son in a brand new school to start on Thursday. Correct? So everybody's given blood, sweat, heart, tears, all the things to make this happen. So with that, a couple things in this personnel report I would bring your attention to. Andrea's letter of resignation is in here. So Andrea's job had multiple components, one being coordination of transportation, which we've spoken about ad nauseum. The other is processing and accounting for accounts receivable and accounts payable. At this point, I don't know how you're doing this. Natalie would like to continue to keep that on with some internal checks and balances for co-signing and reviewing of accounts, just so she can, well, you explain why, because I think it's crazy. I get it, but
It's helping me understand all of our accounting, just our expenditures and revenues and where we code all of our different accounts a lot more. The reporting side of it, I just honestly, like, blessing by disguise, because it's a lot of work, but there's things we needed to fix. And so I'd like to make sure the system's set up the right way before we bring anyone else in to even think about training them to do something like that.
And so what I had referenced in an earlier Friday update is the potential idea of having somebody a few hours a week. Potentially even, and Mo, you and I talked about this a little bit, offering timesheet hours to a staff member who may be qualified and interested to kind of beef up their earnings a little bit, just to work on invoicing and accounting and some of that, which I still may bring forward to you, but not until Natalie tells me she feels that everything is confidently in place. First of all, for her to know it, to be able to train somebody to do it in a way that is, from an accounting perspective, accurate. So that might come back, but not until she tells me to. Okay. Then we have thank yous to the Stanton team. You'll see that we're not going to fill, there's a special education teacher that was allocated. That will be a no fill for this year, simply because we haven't found a candidate that we felt strongly would add value to that team. So with some creative thinking, all of those students' needs will be met with some, just some creative sharing of resources and in full compliance, obviously. But don't be surprised when you see that FTE stay in the request for 26-27. It's not a matter that we didn't want to hire. It's a matter that we didn't find a person that we thought would add great value. And so we've gotten creative with our current resources. So just don't be surprised. And with that, what else is in here? I think that was it. And I do, you know what, I did have a very long conversation with Becky Labrador on a lot of different thoughts. Her letter of resignation is in here. I just want this board to know she is a great community partner. Benny's has done great things with and for this district. Becky and I are on very good terms. And so it is with regret that she has tendered her resignation, but for her to be able to spin the plates that she has to at Benny's and then do this new model of work, it just doesn't add up. But I do want the board to know that all is very well with us. There was a really very kind email exchange, and then she did earn her 15-year plaque at the end of last year. So once I can breathe, maybe next week, I'll be taking that over with some flowers just to thank her for her time and service. So with that, I would tender to the board for consideration my recommendation that you approve the personnel report.
I'll make a motion.
Got a motion by Roger,
I'll second.
second by Dan. Please pull the board.
Yes.
Mr. Galina,
Yes.
Mrs. O'Grady,
Yes.
Mr. Bongiovanni,
Yes.
Mr. Bryan,
Yes.
Mrs. Fryowski,
Yes.
Mr. Dabrowski.
Yes. Okay, motion passes.
Okay, we do not have new policies at this point, but we have some from last time to approve. We're actually going to pull 280 for approval. We want to polish that one up a little bit. So I would be asking this board's approval for a final publication of 2130, 740, 790, 7140, 7325, and 880. Is it okay with you?
Yep.
Okay.
Wait.
280 is the one we're going to hold on. Oath of office. Just needs to be cleaned up a little bit. We'll bring it back though.
I'll make a motion.
Second. Motion by Roger. Yeah.
Yeah, I said
Second by-
it's go time for Joe.
Second by Joe, all in favor. Opposed, none, motion passes.
Okay. As always, please let me know if there are any things you'd like to have included on the agenda. We have an internal document of different presentations that we intend to bring forward every month starting in September. But if there's anything at any point this board would like to see added, please let us know. There are dates of notice here. Please, obviously, if you intend to attend the Lake Division dinner on October 8th, please let Christy know. She'll get you all signed up for that. And I would, before we adjourn tonight, invite everybody on that side of the room to give a word or a phrase about opening day.
Energetic.
Energetic. Thanks, Tom.
Control chaos.
Control chaos. Nicely done. Yes. Exciting. Thanks, Matt.
Excitement.
Excitement.
Fantastic.
Fantastic. Tired? Yeah,
That goes around.
Yeah. that's why we're all, uh-huh,
That's great.
Float. That's it, float. Float.
it flowed?
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. Natalie, how about you?
Different. It was like I was in the office today taking transportation calls and it was
Very
not the
different.
kids as much, but
Yeah.
that's okay. It's a different kind of being needed, so I can deal.
Christy?
I'm gonna say long.
Yeah,
No more board
No
meetings
more-
on the first days.
correct,
Yeah.
It's been
correct.
that way for a while.
Yeah, for a couple
I
years
thought you
we
were gonna
bumped it
say
out.
rewarding.
Ask me tomorrow.
Ask tomorrow.
Tonight.
Long time goes with rewarding.
Yeah. And I would just say, I'm amazed with the amount of change that's happened, and the things that have hit. Like there were changes we knew were going to happen that were already a lot, and the things that we had no idea were going to happen. And to see the kids, like there's a student I took a picture with. I sent it, I think, to Erica, who cried and cried and cried as a kindergartner, like nasty cried. And she walked into Stanton today as a 5th grader, ran up, hugged me, and said, "I'm so glad to be in school." And then ran away quickly so nobody saw her hugging, which is understandable. Like that's why we do what we do. And the fact that I get to do it with the people that I do is just, it's pretty awesome. So thanks, team.
Great job.
Very proud. All right. This is like a Roger speed meeting.
Oh, yeah.
Almost.
Not quite.
Not, yeah, not that quite.
I did have one question, with all the.
Roger.
with all
You're just
the-
trying to extend the meeting.
It's quick.
I want to hear what Roger has to say.
Roger.
With all the rain we've been getting, we haven't had any leaks here. or any
I didn't say that.
water issues.
No, well,
How's a flat roof been?
I was at Stanton at 4:50 this morning. No, okay, so it was wet. I wouldn't necessarily say we know it's from the roof yet. We've got a couple companies coming out. We were able to come in this morning, last night. Yesterday it wasn't dry, and by the time I came in this morning, it was dry. So the water is going somewhere. So we've replaced a couple tiles in the classroom. So we're keeping a close eye on it. I think Friday we've got a couple people coming out to look at it. But yeah, you didn't see anything though at Lotus.
Oh, I was just about to celebrate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Lotus is good. Stanton, we've got a little bit of work
What's
to do.
warranty? What's the warranty?
That's what I said.
Good, exactly. Well, we want to make sure it's the roof first
Right.
before.
And then we'll go
Um,
after it.
Where was it?
But we
The R
do-
word?
we talked about how the waterfall was sort of an ambiance.
Like rainforest can be.
Yeah.
Oh, no. That is
Trying
the
to
most
make
positive
lemonade
spin
out
I've
of lemon.
ever heard on anything.
Maybe it's a leak. I mean, what?
Downstairs.
It's been a long day,
By the
let's
rail.
just say that.
Okay, so it's gonna come through the door or something maybe.
Was a classroom ruined?
No,
Oh,
no,
No,
it
no,
was just a
no.
little wet and
Okay.
yeah. so-
On the floor.
Okay.
It's on the floor.
I mean, it wasn't ideal, but it wasn't a disaster.
It could be a lot of different things, and Don and I spent the morning at like 5 a.m. speculating about a lot of different things, and we decided to shut it down because we have to let an expert decide what it is.
Good choice.
Yeah.
Right?
We're like,
But I
okay,
can tell you that in addition to all the other duties, Natalie is also a meteorologist because now she's giving assertions of what the weather's going to be like and the degree to which we have to worry about precipitation and more leaks.
I have to
So-
say though, Tom was just 10 minutes behind us ready at Lotus.
Yeah.
So, and I told him, no, you get ready for students coming in, but he was there anyway, ready to play all the things maintenance today. So.
Nice.
You know, he used to be a bus driver. We cannot get him help.
Oh, boy.
Wait a minute. You still have a CDL? You did too. Hold on. Problem solved.
Yeah.
Follow. We've got principles.
Have you met our new transportation supervisor?
I see him all in.
All right. Anything else, Roger?
That's it.
Okay,
Not bad.
let's do it.
Anybody else, Joe? If not,
I'll make a motion to adjourn. I'll second.
second by Roger, all in favor? Opposed? None,
All
motion
right.
carries
Thanks,
at
everybody.
8:03.
Not bad.
I know the other night, me and Lost, they ultimately take our emergency. It's the last time going home. In my dog.
Oh, yeah.
I don't.
Mary put that fruity click, I believe that it was,
Oh,
Someone in there, Eric's on the ball, see if I hear them. And I'm like,
Oh, we got some stuff.
yeah, Jen, you got some signatures.
Way back down and all
I don't think so.
Put on, I'm like, I you know, I lay back down and I'm back. Why you over Siri?
Yeah, that's what you've been saying. Oh, now I got